Hello again. In this video I'm going to talk about the Content Center user interface and just do a quick rundown on what everything is in the Content Center user interface so that you're a little bit more familiar with it when we get into a deeper dive into customizing families and family tables in the next section of this series. So I'm going to go to the Tools Editor to open the window just so we can get a look at what's in it. Now this is what your standard Content Center window is going to look like more or less. Yours may be different. It depends on what libraries you have loaded and how much customization you've already done. But just looking at the menus across the top, you have some of your standard pull-down type menus, views, edit window, tools, and a help excuse me, a help tool that'll get you some help online. In the first row of buttons are a lot of your standard buttons like you see in your Internet Explorer type interfaces. You've got a back button and a forward button that will obviously take you forward and back to screens you've already viewed. And you have a folder up button that will take you up one level from where your arrow is currently sitting. So I'm sitting here in angles. Up will take me to structural shapes. Your tree view is very similar to what you might expect to see in a Windows Explorer type environment. Expand by pressing the plus button and contract by pressing the minus button. Very simple. Dig down deep into your menus to see what's inside. So very simple, easy to use there. You have a pretty good search tool in the Content Center if you've got a lot of content loaded and you know approximately what you're looking for but you're not quite sure where it is. You can call up this, you can very simply put in a search string here, and if you have searched previously and you've got a bunch of them saved up, they'll be in this pull down list. I've never used it, so there's nothing there. Once you've entered your search string, just hit the Search Now button and it will search based on whatever you typed in there. Or you can go to the advanced search and you can fill in a number of different properties that you want to search for. Or you can use the search window that is very similar to what you see in both Inventor and Vault, where you can select parameters, qualifiers for those parameters, and then use the Search Now button. You can search based on certain categories, or you can search everything. So it's really up to you how much you want to look for. I'm going to clear all and cancel out of here. But this is a pretty powerful search tool that will help you find exactly what you're looking for if you don't already know where it is. Of course, you can always search by simply looking through the windows and finding your content. Next to the search tool, we have a favorites button. Now, if you had favorites set up, which on this library I do not, this star would be yellow. I'm going to go into merged view, and I'll explain these views in a moment. And you'll see that in the merged view there are favorites. These were set up when I loaded the Content Center. So if I click on that, this favorites menu comes up. Now I can quickly add to this as I'm placing fittings or whatever they may be by simply right-clicking on a specific item, and you have to be in place, and I can just say add to favorites and it will drop that into this favorites menu down here, so that if this is a flange that I use all the time, I don't have to go searching for it the next time. It's going to be down here in my favorites. So that's a good tool to use too, and it's pretty powerful. Filters, I think, is one of the best ways to narrow down what you see in the Content Center. By selecting on this, you see that there are a list of preloaded filters in here, and you can add to or edit these filters by calling up this window. If you want to blow away every one of these, you simply select them and hit remove. You can add new ones to the list and name them whatever you want, and then you can filter these things based on whatever criteria you want to filter them on. The thing that is important is that it will only allow you to select from information that is already set up in the family table properties of the items in your Content Center. So you can see that there's not much that's available to me. 2 manufacturers and 1 standard organization is about all I have to pick from on here. And so, but if all of these were available, I could set these standards up any way I wanted to by simply picking what I want to see. If I wanted my ANSI to see all Parker, ANSI, and only, you can select by categories, only pipe fittings, then I would set it up similar to this. So now that when I select my ANSI filter, it's going to filter it based on this information that I've entered on this screen here. So if I hit OK and then select my ANSI filter, the only thing that I should see is going to be the information that was available in the filter information that I entered. And it looks like I actually turned it off. I did. Alright, so now looking at my flanges, there's nothing there because there are no flanges that meet the criteria I established in my ANSI filter. So that's another way to narrow down what you're looking for. A lot of companies will create some of their own filters to make their lists easier to look through. I'm going to shut this search off, get that out of the way. So that's your filters. You have a refresh button which will simply refresh the standard libraries to any changes that you may have made during the editing session. So that's pretty easy to use there. Now when you're in one of your read-write categories, it has to be a read-write category, you'll see these folders are going to light up for you. This is simply a create category. Whatever your current category is, right now I'm in flanges, if I select this, it will create a subfolder underneath flanges once I fill in all of this information. Give it a category name, and that can be whatever you want it to be. Choose the images or accept the defaults. These I believe have to be bitmap images, and they are very small images, so you can create your own, or you can simply accept the one that's already loaded there for you. Parameters. A list of predetermined parameters will come up that's grayed out. You can't really do much to change them. Those are based on the category that you are creating a subcategory for. So since I was in the flanges folder, a flange is a pipe fitting, it's going to bring in the parameters that match that category. You can add to it if you feel the need to, but pretty much everything that you need for that category is already loaded. It's got all of the standard tube and pipe properties in there, and you should be all set to go on that. So all you would do is hit OK, and your new folder would be created underneath the flange folder. So the next button here is the Edit Family Properties button. And since I'm in a category, it's going to give me category properties. I'm already in flanges, so I could change the name here if I wanted to. I could change the image that's associated with that folder if I have an alternate image set up somewhere. And I can change the parameters or add parameters again, as like I mentioned before, that are associated with that category. If I had the family selected, I would want to use family properties, and we'll get down to that one in just a second. So back into the categories, the next button in the line is delete category. If I selected this, it will delete the entire category and any families that may be in it. Be very careful doing that. You will not get them back. Next in line is family properties, as I mentioned. So if I select a family and go to family properties, that's going to bring up all of the properties associated with this specific family. I can change the name, I can change the family description, and here is where I can change the information that will affect my filters, like I mentioned earlier. I can change the standard organization associated with this part, or I can add to the list and add my own. I can also change the standard number itself. If there is a specific ANSI standard associated with this part, I could enter that information here. And you can see there's quite a few already in there to choose from. And if I wanted to add my own custom standard name that I wanted to put on this, like Chris's standard, I could do that, and then I could filter based on that standard. I could even put my own name here in standard organization. Same thing with manufacturer. If you know the manufacturer of the part that you're going to be purchasing it from, you could put that information in there, or you can simply make one up that you can use for your filters. This information is entirely up to you. Whatever you put in here will become available to you when you want to set up your filters. The family folder name is the name that's going to appear out in your Content Center storage location when the parts themselves are generated. It's going to create a folder with this name and then drop those parts in there as needed. And the library finally refers to the location and name of your Content Center library. Now this may be local content or it might be vault content. If you have more than one custom library, one read-write library, you can change the library that you want this family associated with. I just have the one, and so I'm going to simply leave that alone. Parameter mapping will bring up the parameters that are mapped by default for this family when it was published out of Inventor in the first place. If you needed to, you can modify this information or you can add to it. Ordinarily, you would not have to modify anything in here. The thumbnail is simply the thumbnail image for the part that was generated when it was published. If you have an alternate location with different thumbnail images, you can specify that in this window here. You would probably have to create that using the snipping tool or some sort of photo editing tool. And then the link window brings up whether or not you want this family linked to a standard family in the Content Center. Ordinarily, you would see this come up if you created this family by copying a standard family. You could decide whether you want it linked to the standard Content Center family or not linked. If the family was linked, then any changes made to the standard Content Center library would be brought into your custom Content Center library. Ordinarily, I leave these not linked, but again, that is entirely up to you. So that was family properties. Next is going to be family table. Now I'm not going to go real deep into family table because I'm going to do an entirely different video on editing the family table. I just want to give you a real quick sneak peek at it, so don't get mad at me when I shut it down real quick. But there's a lot of information in the family table. This is what controls all of the components in that family. This is all of your dimensional information, part numbers, descriptions, anything that you want to associate with these parts and then map to iProperties on the part file itself. You've got a lot of power in here. You can map items, like I said, to iProperties, and then those iProperties can be mapped to properties in the vault, and you can extract all kinds of information and write all types of information onto your parts. This is a session unto itself, so like I said, this is just a sneak peek, and I'm going to probably make a lot of people mad, and I'm going to close it down. Sorry about that. And just like we had a delete category button, you also have a delete family button. And again, this is something that once it's done, it's done. If you delete a family that you've done a lot of customization to, there's no getting it back. So just make sure before you hit this button that that's exactly what you wanted to do. Next up, we have copy to, save copy as, and material guide. Now these are all about duplicating information. Copy to allows you to select a particular family. Let's pick a family here, and you can select it on the context menu as well. If I had more than one read-write library, which I don't, I could use copy to and then select that second library, and it would take a copy of this family, leaving the original intact, and put it into that other library. Now, if you're a larger company, maybe you've got multiple Content Center libraries for different departments, different divisions. So this might be a way to share family tables between different libraries that way. You can also use save copy as, and this is ordinarily what you would use on a standard content library. Let me pull one of those up. Right now I'm in my read-write library. I'm going to go to Merged View, which brings up both my read-write library and everything else. Anything that you see in the family that is not bold, like you see my flange down here at the bottom is lit up, These that are grayed out are standard Content Center parts. You cannot edit these. These are read-only. If you want to copy one of them to your library so that you can edit the family table and make changes to it, that's where you would use this Save Copy As. And then you would specify the library you want to copy it to, and here's where you choose whether you want to make it independent or linked. If you link it, then obviously it's going to share properties and changes with that parent family. I always make mine independent so that I can do whatever I want to them. Then you can fill out the family name, family description, and family folder name like we looked at in the folder properties. Take the copy of out of there, obviously. Make it whatever you want it to be, and then just simply hit the OK button, and then everything that's associated with this family table is now ready for you in your read-write library, and you can go in here and edit all of these like we're going to talk about in the next session. So again, not going to get into that one. Then Material Guide is a little bit different. I'm going to get back on my own family here, and if I open up the Material Guide, it says that the guide will assist you in adding or removing different materials for existing content in Content Center libraries. Basically what this will do is it will take a copy of this family table and change it to a different material. It'll copy all of the components in that family table, all of the sizes, all of the information that's in there, and create a new family table or append the current family table with a new material. So for example, if this flange says it is made out of PVC, if I wanted to, I could make a new family, and I can either add it as new family members, or I can create a new family for each material. I'm going to create a new family into this read-write library, which is my only one available, and I'm simply going to select a new material, and let's say we want the same, let's make it cast iron. We'll add it over here. Now it's going to take the exact same dimensional information that's associated with this PVC flange and create a family for it where the material is set as cast iron. So if I hit next, it just asks me if everything looks okay. I can enter an alias for the material if I want to, or I can simply accept it. Hit next. And then I can differentiate new material members and families based on this criteria. Here I can add to the family description if I want to add that material, just cast iron, to the description. I can add that material to the part number, or I can add it as the material name itself. So I'm going to review this and see what it looks like. And you see it did add it to the name. I don't really want that in the file name. It did not add it to the part number, so I'm going to get out of this. And I'm going to say let's add it to the description. And I guess I have to add it to the family name, so here we go. If I hit OK and next, it's going to tell me to go ahead and start the process, and it will create that family. If I hit finish, there it is. Now it took a copy of the entire thing and it added that cast iron to it. Now that it's created, if I want to get rid of it from that file name and description columns, I can go in here and edit this family table and get rid of any place that I don't want that cast iron name to show up. Again, I'm not going to go into that in this session. We'll go into that very deeply in the next session. But that's your material guide. You could also have just simply used the save copy as and then gone in and edited the family table. So there's a number of different ways to create the same effect here. Next up, we just have some viewing options for the Content Center editor itself. You can view this window based on thumbnail, list, or details, just like in your Windows Explorer, and you can customize the information that appears along the top column here. You can pick columns that you want to see. Let's put date modified and standard organization. Let's just see what that looks like. So you can specify information that you want to be able to see up in this window here if you're going to use details. Oh, never mind. I turned off the tree view before I wanted to. This tree view can be turned off by selecting this button or the X in the corner of it, and then bring it back by simply selecting the button again. All that does really is get it out of your way for a few seconds if you want to make this window a little bit bigger. Same thing with this preview window on the bottom. With a very large family, sometimes this window will slow you down. So I like to have the option of turning it off, and I can see more of the available families, and it doesn't slow me down trying to load every single line item in there. And if I don't want to turn it back on, I simply pop it back up again. Again, there's an X in the corner. You can shut it off using the X as well and bring it back like so. Now I mentioned the library views. These are libraries that were loaded when you installed the Content Center, when you were installing your Inventor. It created a library for everyone that you loaded, and it also includes your read-write libraries that you have created. And you can view any one of these by themselves. You can further filter them based on the filter information that you've put in, or you can view only your read-write libraries, or you can view by merged view, which is both the read-write libraries and the read-only libraries. And let's shut off the filter so that we're looking at absolutely everything. So now everything that is available to me in this Content Center, whether it's read-only or read-write, is now visible on the screen. So that is just a very quick overlook of what all of the buttons in here do, so that you're not searching around trying to figure out what everything is when we get into the deep dive in my next session on editing family tables and actually customizing your content. We'll also do a look at authoring and publishing and how to get things into the Content Center in the first place. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you when I make my next one. Thank you.